Most people live in an invisible loop of the mind, either immersed in the past with memories, regrets, and remorse, or projecting themselves into the future with predictions, worries, and fears that have not yet occurred. This attachment is the root cause of much psychological suffering. In reality, the only moment we can truly experience and influence is now. When the mind leaves the present, we lose connection with real life and live only in the imagined stories we tell ourselves. Living fully in the present does not mean ignoring the past or stopping planning for the future, but learning to be wholly present with what is happening, feeling the breath, observing the surroundings, listening to the body and emotions. When we can do this, the mind becomes still, pressure dissolves, and a profound sense of peace emerges. The present is not just a moment, it is the only doorway to true freedom and happiness. The ego is the false identity we unconsciously build over the years. It is formed from memories, experiences, achievements, social status, and the roles we play in life. The ego is not our true essence, yet it constantly tries to convince us that it is us. It compares us to others, fears being judged, craves recognition, and endlessly seeks validation to feel valuable. When life is driven by the ego, we are drawn into a never-ending race, achieving more, proving more, owning more, yet feeling empty inside. The mind is a wonderful tool for solving practical problems, but under the ego's influence, it becomes the master, continually generating thoughts, judgments, and labels. Instead of using the mind, we are used by it. Take Tom as an example. He loves sharing travel photos on social media. At first, he just wanted to preserve memories and share beautiful moments with friends. Gradually, the ego stepped in. He began noticing the number of likes, comparing his posts with others, and feeling disappointed when his photos didn't get much interaction. Seeing a friend post from a hotter destination, the ego whispered, "I have to go there too. I need better photos to prove I'm not inferior." Instead of enjoying his upcoming trip, his mind was preoccupied with making his pictures stand out. If Tom doesn't realize this is the ego's voice, he will stay trapped in the cycle of comparison and validation seeking. But when he understands that his self-worth does not depend on likes or others' opinions, he can fully enjoy his trip, present in every moment, not just living for the final photo he posts online. Only when we realize we are not the thoughts or stories created by the ego can we begin to touch spiritual freedom. The first step is to observe the ego in action, noticing when we compare, defend, or seek attention. Simply acknowledge it without judgment. Each moment we step back from the voice in our head and stand as the observer, the ego loses power. When the ego retreats, a quiet space opens where our true essence, pure presence, can shine. This is where we find deep peace, beyond all definitions and limits of the illusory self.
Most of our suffering does not come from actual circumstances, but from how the mind interprets and judges them. Eckhart Tolle calls this psychological pain. It forms when we live in stories of our own making, rather than experiencing the reality of the present moment. For example, if you are stuck in traffic for 30 minutes, the situation itself is simply a delay. But the mind immediately adds, "I'll be late for the meeting, my boss will be angry, I'll be judged poorly." And it is these thoughts that cause stress, anxiety, or even anger. Reality is often neutral, but when filtered through judgment, it becomes a source of suffering. Psychological pain is also fueled by clinging to the past and fearing the future. When we keep replaying old mistakes or wounds, or worry about situations that haven't happened, we pull ourselves away from the present, the only place where life truly exists. The solution is not to avoid situations or try to control everything, but to recognize the story in our head and separate ourselves from it. When we realize this is just a thought, not an absolute truth, the power of psychological pain diminishes. In that awareness,
We no longer identify with negative emotions, but become the awake observer. From this position, we can respond to life with clarity and peace, no longer driven by fear or past wounds. Within each person exists a deeper layer of consciousness, separate from the usual stream of thoughts and emotions. Eckhart Tolle calls this the witness, the pure awareness that simply observes without judging or identifying with the mind's content. When we become the witness, we are no longer victims of negative emotions or imagined scenarios, but calm witnesses to whatever unfolds. For example, when angry, we usually get lost in it and act from it. But if we take half a step back and notice, I am feeling angry, we activate the witness. The emotion is still there, but instead of controlling us, it passes like a cloud across the sky of consciousness. This practice reveals an essential truth. We are not our thoughts or emotions, but the vast space in which they arise and dissolve. Just as a screen is unaffected by the images projected onto it, our true nature remains unharmed by fleeting thoughts. To nurture the witness, we can practice presence in ordinary moments. Feel the contact of your feet on the ground, listen to surrounding sounds, or simply notice your breath. Each time we do this, we strengthen the ability to detach from identification with the mind. As the witness grows stronger, we enter a deep stillness where peace and spiritual freedom no longer depend on external circumstances. This is our true nature, the consciousness beyond every story the mind tells.
Remember that one of the main causes of suffering is resistance to the present. When something happens that we don't want, the mind instantly reacts, complaining, resenting, or denying. But the truth is, the present moment has already arrived, and resisting it only increases tension, like swimming against the current. Accepting the present does not mean surrendering or neglecting, but acknowledging things as they are, without adding inner opposition. For example, if it rains on the day you planned a picnic, you can spend the day upset, or accept that rain is falling and choose another activity. Acceptance frees up the energy wasted on resistance, allowing it to be used for wise action. This acceptance must start within, acknowledging and allowing both emotions and the situation to exist in this moment. When we do this, the mind becomes calmer and new creative solutions appear. We can still act to change circumstances, but acting from acceptance is very different from acting from resistance. In acceptance, there is no bitterness or blame, only clarity and focus. Practicing acceptance teaches us to let go of the habit of trying to fix everything immediately. Instead, we stand firmly in reality, responding with peace and wisdom. This is the foundation for a free life, unburdened by the past or fear of the future.
Now let's clearly distinguish between clock time and psychological time. Clock time is the practical tool to organize life, scheduling appointments, preparing for events, planning work. Psychological time is when the mind constantly lives in the past or future, away from the present, and this is the root of much suffering. Psychological time traps us in memories, regrets, resentments, or constant worry about things that haven't happened. For example, someone who once failed in business might keep revisiting the past to blame themselves or live in fear of failing again, even if nothing is happening now. When the mind is stuck in psychological time, we miss what's right in front of us. Every moment of life becomes faded because we focus on when instead of now. The solution is clear awareness of the present. Whatever you do, focus entirely on it. Washing dishes is just washing dishes. Walking is just walking, without letting the mind run to the past or future. This does not mean ignoring planning, but doing it from the present and then letting it go. Freeing ourselves from psychological time brings deep relief, no longer dragged by old memories or fears not yet formed. The present becomes a safe refuge, and from there, all actions arise from peace and clarity. However, understanding the theory of living in the present is not enough. We need to practice presence daily. until it becomes natural. Presence is the state of mind fully focused on the moment, unaffected by past memories or future predictions. A simple way to begin is by paying attention to bodily sensations. When washing your hands, feel the water's temperature, the skin's contact, and the sound of the flowing stream.
When walking, notice each step touching the ground,
Your breathing rhythm, and your body's movement. Use your breath as an anchor. Just spending a few minutes focusing on each inhale and exhale can slow the mind and reduce restlessness. Another method is label-free listening. Choose a sound around you: birds chirping, a fan's hum, or wind blowing, and simply listen without thinking what it is or where it comes from. If those thoughts arise, the mind has wandered. Gently bring it back. That's the key. Each time you do this, you train the muscle of awareness. Presence is not limited to short exercises. It can infuse all daily activities: eating, working, talking, even waiting at a red light. Every moment of presence is a step out of the thought spiral, bringing peace and clarity right in the middle of a busy life. When presence is cultivated and sustained, profound changes occur both inside and outside our lives. First, stress and anxiety decrease significantly. Since anxiety always arises from worrying about the future, when the mind is anchored in the present, negative predictions lose their power. Next, you'll notice that negative emotions have less control. Anger, sadness, or disappointment may still arise, but they no longer last long or overwhelm you because you see they are temporary states, not your essence. Another benefit is enhanced creativity and intuition. When the mind is still and undistracted, inspiration arises naturally. Many people find new and effective solutions when working from a state of presence. Living in the present also improves relationships. When truly listening to others without judgment or pre-planned responses, we create deep connection. The other person feels our full attention, and communication becomes more genuine and harmonious. Most importantly, you will experience a sense of oneness with life, a deep peace that is not dependent on circumstances. Joy no longer comes from achieving something in the future, but emerges right now. This is the ultimate human goal: to live free from the burden of psychological time, enjoy life as it is unfolding, and find happiness where it has always been, here and now.